Hey, how's it going? How you been? What's scrapnin'?
The weekly scraps, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the weekly scraps, episode 67. I'm back home from New Mexico. We had a crazy performance, and the team keeps on rolling strong. Man, talk about dominant performance from our guy, the one and only, the nicest guy on the planet, might I add, and Merab Devash. Let me not fucking butcher this man's name right now. He told me Devalishvili. There he goes. Merab the Machine Devalishvili, straight out of Georgia. Implant over here in New York and Long Island with us. One of my main training partners, especially when it comes to sparring, always pushes me to the limits. And man, so proud of that guy for him to go out there and dominate the way he did against a very tough southpaw opponent who came out pretty tricky, trying to play the whole little bit of like a switch up, kind of try to give us a different look. And he came out as an orthodox fighter before sooner rather than later converting back to the southpaw stance that he's known to do from all the tape that we've seen. Man, but so the team was obviously ecstatic. We were on a high. We had a fun, very strong week of cutting weight. This was the best I think Merab's ever cut weight before. Normally he goes the entire 5 days of just starving himself and not eating at all. That's the way most of us wrestlers do it back in the days until we've gotten a little older now. Most of us have learned that there are better ways to cut weight so that you can eat a little bit. And I think the UFC supplements that they were giving us and giving him, I should say, because I've also been taking them as well whenever I'm down during the fight week. The UFC, the guys over at the PI Center, they write down a breakdown strategically how they want us to take all these vitamins and subs while we're cutting weight so we can maintain our health as best as we possibly can and keep somewhat of the vitamins and nutrients in our bodies while we still try to shrink ourselves down to make the weight cut for all of an hour. Because once you step on the scale, you rehydrate back, boom, get nice, fat, and happy all over again. It's kind of weird that we do this to ourselves just to go put on all the weight right back. But yeah, perfect weight cut. He's, this is the most energetic, and I want to say the most he's ever felt from what he said and from what I've seen, that he's been able to go out, hang out, talking, having energy, not really super grumpy and in like a pissy mood all the time, because that's what happens when you starve yourself. People always say, like, when your girlfriend's angry, you just buy her food because she's probably just hungry, So it's kind of like that. Everyone gets a little irritated after starving for quite a bit or not eating for quite a bit. So yeah, we had perfect weight cut. The training on Tuesday, we did a lot of flow sparring stuff. Merab ran a bit. Tuesday I didn't do anything because I had just gotten off the plane. I got there really late and my body was shot. I was going to try to work out with him, but I was like, dude, it's probably going to be better served if you guys let me chill out and get some rest for tomorrow. But we did a lot of flow sparring stuff. I will say Merab had like 5 fights before his fight. He beat the piss out of Al and I on multiple occasions. And people who are in the locker room who were there to witness this firsthand were just in awe, jaw dropping. Like, yo, this guy's really working out like this. I'm like, yeah, this is normal stuff, typical. This is how we get it done. But it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, we put our bodies out there on the line. We're there to support our guys, and for moments like that, everyone gets their hand raised, or gets an opportunity to get their hand raised, and it's something that moments like these are the ones that we'll never forget. So I'm super excited about him. I gotta check the rankings to make sure. I mean, it's not like I could do anything about it, but he should have a number by his name after a dominant performance like that over Casey Kenny, who was ranked I think 14th or 15th at the time, beat undefeated Manny Bermudez, who missed weight by 4 or 5 pounds that day, and beat Ray Borg, who challenged Demetrius Johnson for a world title shot. So I think rightfully so, Merab has earned his keep, and I think he put the rest of the division on notice, and I think people are starting to realize I'm not fucking around when I say get yourself a Merab if you want to get in phenomenal shape, because that guy pushes the limits. I think he beat his own record, which was 11 takedowns in a UFC fight at Bantamweight Division, and now he set it for 12. That's what the stats showed. So congrats to him on that as well. It's going to be a very long time for me to catch up to that number because I think he's up in I think he might have hit like 40 now or 39, something like that. I got to check what I got because I don't even know. But we might have to have a little friendly competition to see who can keep those numbers up the highest and really, really set the record for years and years to come. Other than that, man, we did really well with that. We got to check out the city a little bit of New Mexico. We went down to Old Town Road, they called it. Got to eat at this real old school place. They said this was like the last or the earliest built restaurant or facility that New Mexico had to offer, or that town had to offer, something along those lines. Something Casa, but it was a really legit place. We ate outside, and then when we went in, we didn't realize there was so much more. Like there was a guy in there playing the guitar. There was a inside backyard area that we could have went and hung out in, and it really gave me like that old school vibe of like a real old Midwestern movie. So that was pretty dope. Other than that, that was pretty much it. Cause I left on Tuesday. Why did I get in so late? Oh, there was no flights. I fly standby, so there was no flights for me to ship out early in the morning. There was like one seat left, and for me to try to do that and then end up getting there and can't get on my connecting flight, it would just be a waste of time because then I would just be stuck and sitting at the airport. So I just left later in the day. But it is what it is, man. We made it out there. We accomplished the mission. We got it done. And onwards and upwards. Now this week coming up, we have our guys, Dennis Bazooka. I don't know if you guys saw the clip that I posted maybe a couple months ago where Dennis threw a spinning back elbow while his opponent was circling off of the cage. Boom, landed flush, put him out. And he gets up on the cage and celebrates. Yeah. We got him. He's back up in the mix this weekend, 145. We have Justin the Kid Montalvo. He is making his pro debut. Be on the lookout for that guy. There's one guy I will say I'm highly impressed with of late because he's been really putting in a lot of time with the grappling. And especially with the stand-up. I think the stand-up is going to surprise a lot of people, especially if his opponent is a boxer and he can't get him down. Once he realizes that he can't strike with him and he tries to get him down, it's going to be a long night for him. As long as he doesn't get clipped and get overconfident. Other than that, from what I've been seeing from Justin right now, he is on fire, focused, on a mission, and I'm super pumped up for him to make his long-awaited pro debut. I know he's been wanting to do this for a very, very long time, but the coaches decided that he should probably get a couple more in, and I think it's going to come in handy that he got those extra experience in for those amateur fights, because once you go pro, man, there's no going back. So you want to make sure you test yourself in all those areas and check off all those boxes before you make that jump. And this way you could give yourself a fighting chance at a legitimate shot to go to the UFC or one of these top organizations, Bellator or ONE FC, wherever you decide to go. You just always want to make sure you have that flexibility and that option to do so by putting yourself in the right position, by winning the right fights and picking the right matchups. Obviously, you don't want a whole bunch of cans, but you want to still give yourself challenging fights, but not fights that you're clearly not ready for. And I think he's done things the right way. And I think it's going to be he should do more than well. I'm predicting he goes out there and he gets a body shot finish. That's just my prediction. And I'm going to say second round. He clips him to the body, puts him down, and that'll be a good night. Now, we had a bunch of other people. They fell off the card. We got a couple of injuries, which kind of sucks to even say. But things like this happen. It's part of the game, part of the sport. But we do have Diana K. I'm just called Diana K. I cannot pronounce her last name. I think it's just like Carvis. But just Diana K. She's going to be fighting as well. Her first fight with us under the Sarah Longo umbrella. So I'm excited for her to see how she does with her transition working in over with us now from over in New Jersey. And I think she's got a tough opponent, but I think she should be all right. You know, she's got some good bodies to work with, some really good girls, high-level jiu-jitsu partners to work with. And she puts in the time on her own, and she has like a little book where she writes down her notes and ideas and thoughts for the day on training sessions. And I remember when I was first starting, I was the same exact way. And I told her, I was like, yo, believe it or not, I used to do that a lot. I used to do that all the time religiously. And to get to the point where you just, I for some reason, I could just self-record it in my head now. And I don't necessarily need to have it like sit down and go write it out like I used to. But let's go into our weekend rewind and get a quick little recap on UFC Rio Rancho. The card was actually pretty good. It was a sleeper card, I think. I think a lot of people underestimated it and did not give it the respect that it probably warranted. I know it was at a small venue, intimate, which was pretty cool because the smaller the venue, the louder it is when the arena pops with noise and cheers and all that, boos, whatever. But there was some really good fights. Some of the ones that stuck out to me, the finish by Paiva. He fought Mark De La Rosa, got a knockout towards the end of the second round. He was kept landing that right hand, touching Mark De La Rosa over and over again. And eventually he was able to land one clean and flush on the jaw that put Mark down. Sucks, because De La Rosa is actually managed by Oren Hodak, one of my managers over at Ballinger Group. So you obviously always wants to see your side of the team do well. It was a tough fight. Mark did some good things in there. That first round was very competitive. He was landing some good strikes, but eventually, like I said, Paiva just kept finding a home for that right hand over and over again, and he kept getting closer, and eventually, sometimes that one shot, perfect timing, perfect placement, it puts you down, puts you out. Women's Bantamweight Division, Macy Chison, Macy. She took on Shayna Young in a short notice fight. 30-26 across the board. Nico Montagna got hurt again. Medical issues. This is just really unfortunate because I know she was struggling to make flyweight. They moved her up to bantamweight. And I was really looking forward to seeing her fight. First ever females flyweight champion, I believe. She was supposed to fight Valentina. That fight never happened. She got sick as well. I don't know what's going to happen with her. I don't think the UFC can release her based on medical issues, preventing her from being able to compete. So it's just a very unfortunate string of events. At this point, I'm just like, man, it's almost like the Tony Ferguson and Khabib thing when, you keep thinking the fight's going to happen, and it keeps falling through. And I'm not saying she was supposed to fight Chison Macy over and over, but the fact that she was supposed to fight over and over and just keeps getting hurt or having some unfortunate luck is just really shitty because I was really impressed with her on the show, and I was really looking forward to seeing her throw down, especially at the bantamweight division, going upper weight class to see how she performs. Next up, we got a guy, Merab Dvalishvili. I think I said it right this time. Super dominant, as we already touched on. Set the record, 12 takedowns. Kenny came out good. I think once he started to feel the pace of Merab, he started to slow down. Noticeably in the second round, I will say one of the judges had a 29-28, which was extremely alarming because that first round, it was close, but there was points where Merab took him down and had him against the cage. The striking on the feet in that round one was extremely close. You can make the argument that maybe Casey landed the more cleaner punches, but Merab was still touching him up as well. And I would think that the takedown and then the back control landing those knees should have iced that round for him. But I guess not, man. It's super strange because then you got the other judges 30-25. That's 2 10-8 rounds. And 30-27. And then one judge 29-28. You just never know. Next up, light heavyweight, Devin Clark versus Daquan Townsend. 30-26, 30-26, 30-27. Yo, this was the best I ever seen Clark look. I always gave him a little bit of shit. Not gave him shit, but was never like super high on him because I felt like after a couple of those repeat performances where I wasn't seeing any growth, I was kind of losing hope that the guy can pan out and really take advantage of his entire potential. The guy is powerful. He has a set of freaking quads and hammies on him like I've never seen. He's built like a brick house. Like his lower body, his entire lower body is ginormous. stud wrestler. So when I see him having all these capabilities, I'm like, dude, you gotta start using your physical gifts to your advantage, because that's where you're gonna win the fight, and that's where you're gonna get people to get up on the Devin Clark hype train. And he seems like a really good dude, down to earth. I've met him a couple of times now at this point. And I think his dad is always with him. I believe that is his father, who's always in the corner. And I know he's training at Jackson Winklejohn. And like I said, this was a complete performance by him, but maybe not so much in the stand-up department. But in terms of the defensive stand-up department, I think he did a very great job of not turning his face when people were throwing strikes at him and running, where it looked like he was super uncomfortable, because he has done that in the past. And I'm just calling it how I see it. And he looked a lot more comfortable, and just now I'm seeing the growth. And I would like to see how he progresses, to see if he keeps building on top of this momentum. And I don't think Townsend is the most well-diverse skill set in terms of any one particular area. But it still says something that Devin Clark still belongs in the UFC, being able to beat a tall, lanky opponent like Townsend. Scott Holtzman, he beats Jim Miller in a barn burner fight. I think that might have been fight of the night. I'm not sure. I have to go double check and look back at that. But that was a fun fight to watch. He had some big marquee moments. Then Miller found his a home for his big left hands, with Holtzman pushing forward and hurt him a couple of times. But ultimately, Scott Holtzman was able to keep the pressure on him and win 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27. John Dodson versus Nathaniel Wood, great fight. Like I said, man, this card was pretty stacked, pretty fun. A lot of fun fights from top to bottom. You can never judge a card by the name value until the fights actually happen, and we see that with this case right here. Dodson said he's back. He's letting the bantamweights know that he's back to hurt people and whatnot and all this stuff. He dropped Nathaniel Wood at the 16-second mark of round 3 and was able to follow up with a bunch of short punches, boom, 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 rabbit shots. And although Nathaniel was making his way back up to his feet, the ref decided that he's seen enough and jumped in. I didn't quite agree with that. I thought it could have went a little bit longer. I'm not sure if those punches were really laying that significant of a damage, because it's not like he was getting hit and then going out. Hit, coming back and getting hit and going out. He was getting hit, and he was just standing there, just taking the shots, trying to recoup from the big shot that put him down on his butt. And he's trying to get up. As he gets up, then the ref jumps in and stops the fight. Again, I don't know if the fight would have gotten any worse, gotten any better. I just thought it could have gone a little bit more. If he was going to stop the fight, I would have been more okay with it in the transition, where, not even in the transition, while he was on his butt sitting, and where it looked like he was trying to recover, but he might have been staggered a bit and it looked like he was really out of it. But to his credit, he turned to all fours and he was making his way back up to his feet. It was a really fun fight. He busted up Dodson pretty good. Dodson caught him with some nice shots. They both cut each other. Dodson had a big laceration underneath his eye. At least it looked like a laceration or a bruise. And I saw him in the back room, told him congrats. And he said he's going to make his way back up the rankings, and he hopes that we get to play. I think that those were his words. We get to play one day. I know we've had our fair share of talking shit to each other, but I tell you what, that was, I would say, the most active I've seen Dodson. It wasn't complete chasing from Nathaniel Wood, which I was really shocked by, but Nathaniel did get a little over aggressive in that third round, which ultimately left him to being caught by him pressing forward, Dodson getting clipped, but then him switching to almost an orthodox. He tried to throw a left. He switches to orthodox, and then he doubles that left that he always doubles. He doubles or triples that punch and clips him on that second shot and puts Nathaniel down. The Daniel Rodriguez versus Tim Means submission choke, I should say, guillotine, 3 minutes and 37 seconds into the second round. This fight looked like it was going to be stopped early with Tim Means getting his hand raised. And then next you know, what the fuck? This shit just changed like that. And I'm over here like, what am I watching right now? I don't know who Daniel Rodriguez is, but I do know who he is now. And I will for sure be paying attention. He looked great. Weathered an early storm, I would say, from what I was able to see. I was still in the back room. We're all still static about Merab, trying to figure everything out. So I'm kind of like watching like in and out. So it was a little tough. But for the most part, I got to rewatch most of the fights. This one I didn't get to watch all of round one again. But like I said, from what I saw, it looked like Tim Means was having his way, and it was going to be a short night for Rodriguez. But Rodriguez was able to turn the tide around and really rally back and get the job done. Next up, main card, we have Lando Venado versus Yancy Medeiros. He won a decision, 30-27 across the board. Ray Borg beats Rogerio Bontorin after missing weight, 30-27, 30-27, 30-25. Brock Weaver versus Kazula Vargas gets the win by DQ from an illegal knee, which makes no sense. I'm watching Vargas in the back room, and I thought he looked great warming up. I was really excited for this fight. I thought it was going to be a barn burner of a fight. He came out, implemented a grapple-heavy style in the beginning against Weaver. I wasn't sure why that was. Maybe he was afraid of the stand-up, concerned with the stand-up. I don't know. But he went out there to grapple, you know? So I don't know if he felt like the power and was like, yo, fuck this shit. I'm about to start wrestling this motherfucker right here. But more than a couple of times, it looked like Weaver was trying to threaten with that choke. I wasn't sure why he wasn't using it to try to get back to his feet. He did get back up to his feet one time. I think he got taken down again. As he gets taken down again, our guy Vargas negligently grabs him, lines him up, and slams home a knee to the chin, which puts Weaver out for a split second. And then he comes back, and I believe he said he didn't know what happened, but I know he was saying, I didn't want to win like that, especially in front of his hometown, his tribe and everything. So that I would imagine that sucked for him. But I'm not going to say it's part of the game because that was just fucked. That was just like, dude, do you not know the fucking rules? The guy's sitting on his butt. There's no way in hell you could have thought that knee was legal. And if someone hits me like that, I don't know how I'm reacting. Like, fuck, man. You almost want to go into a frenzy like, yo, bro, you're not expecting it, right? And this is my issue with it. So you're not expecting the knee. So you're kind of relaxing and you're kind of just thinking about the next step. So you're not even thinking or contemplating protecting your face from a knee, right? Your mind's not even thinking about that. It's like that punch that happens when you're just walking down the street and someone comes up from the side, boom, clocks your shit, drops you. And I know a couple of people who used to do dickhead shit like that. So with that being said, not seeing that knee, those shots you don't see, they always say are the ones that put you out or do the most damage. And that was it right there, man. Those are career shorteners for sure. So hopefully Weaver can have a positive bounce back. He wasn't too concussed. And Vargas, man, fuck, dude. I feel like we were robbed of a great fight because the weigh-ins and everything, the build-up, the hometown. It had a recipe for like an epic fight. I don't know. Whatever. Round 1, 4 minutes and 2 seconds in. Montana De La Rosa, she beats Barella 30-27 across the board. Dominant performance. She could arguably be next in line for a shot at Valentina Shevchenko. Do I think she's ready for a Valentina? Maybe not right now. But then again, who else is there, you know? She looked phenomenal. Her ground game always on point. She even dropped her with the right hand. And she looked more well-rounded than I think I've ever remember watching her. She's also the wife of Mark De La Rosa, also managed by Oren Hodak from Ballingy. So it is what it is, man. I don't know. That division, I just feel the competition, man, right now where Valentina is, all the females are still trying to catch up. It's like there's Valentina, Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg, and then almost everybody else. I mean, you got Yuan in there. You got Zhang Wei Li now. We got to see how she does against Yuan. I think this will really give us a better insight into where she's at technique-wise. And we know she can crack. We've seen it. And we'll see how she does with Joanna Jacek in a couple of weeks out in Vegas. But congrats to De La Rosa. She goes out there. I know her husband came up short, but she went out there and got the win in a very, very dominant way as well. Now, co-main event, Diego Sanchez, Michel Pereira Wow, another illegal knee. Talk about just mishaps and people just being incompetent and just not knowing the rules, man. This guy's a wild man. So I would imagine a guy like this making a mistake more than a guy like Vargas. But still, there's no explanation for like shit like that. Like when a guy is sitting on his butt and you grab his head and you line him up and you throw a devastating knee, it's like, dude, what were you fucking thinking? And I always said my thing about the new rules is having to put 2 hands down on the mat. If I have 2 hands down on the mat, it completely immobilizes me from protecting my face. Meaning, if I have a front headlock on you and I'm trying to throw your knee to the head, you put your hand down, right? You put one hand down, I can't knee you. Now the rules are saying 2 hands. So if I put 2 hands down and I lift your head up and your fingers go from weight bearing, so flat, weight bearing, to like this, I can now legally knee you in the fucking head. It's the dumbest fucking thing. At least if I could be weight bearing with one hand, my other hand could semi protect my face, my forehead, my nose from being shattered and push all the way on the other side of my face. So there's a couple of things about those new rules that I do not like. But in this case, it was the old rules, and still, down Diego Sanchez, Michel Pereira was definitely winning the fight, but it was just like, dude, man, you got to get it together. This guy is dancing, and then you got a guy in there who doesn't know the rules. It's just not a good look. Very entertaining. Very entertaining. He was twice the size of Diego Sanchez for sure in there. But, dude, hurting people like that, and Diego, he's been fighting for God knows how long, so it's like a 38-year-old getting crushed like that to the head, and then I believe he was saying he could not see, but he was still trying to continue the fight. Fucking warrior, dude. That guy is out of his bird, but he's a fighter nonetheless. Just very, very unfortunate. And now our main event, John Blachowicz versus Corey Anderson. He gets the KO in round 1, 3 minutes and 8 seconds into the very first round. Outstanding timing by Blachowicz in landing that right. Was it the right hand? Corey came in and threw. It was either the left or the right hand. But either way, he threw perfect timing and caught Corey right on the button. Dude. So Corey started the combination with the kick. But here's where he fucked up. He was just way too close. If he stayed a little bit longer, now Blachowicz goes to throw that punch. Maybe it comes up short, or maybe Corey can roll with it instead of being right here where the impact he can get punched through, as opposed to being caught at the very end and maybe being able to turn his head and roll and let some of that power dissipate a little bit by him moving with the punch. So if you get punched square, boom, you're going to get rocked. But if I get punched and I move my head a little bit with it, I can kind of absorb some of that impact by like catching a baseball and like giving like someone throws me a ball, they lob it, and I give it a little bit of a give, like I give with it to catch the ball, as opposed to letting it just slam and catch it with my fist like that. You got to almost cradle it in. Same thing with a punch. I get cracked, I cradle in, roll with it, shoulder roll, something. But he didn't even have that opportunity. And originally I picked Corey Anderson, and then at the weigh-ins I told Al and those guys, I was like, yo, dude, Blachowicz is a pretty fucking stacked guy. Anderson looks smaller than I remembered him being, like more lean. I don't know if it's just how he is or I'm just not remembering correctly. But either way, I was like, I feel like I should make a last second switch here in the main event. But I was like, I do personally know Corey, definitely more than Blachowicz. But hey, sometimes we don't get it done. He trains over there with Mark Henry and those guys over in New Jersey. And wrestler by trade and nature. I thought he would have grinded him out, or maybe have to push for a spectacular finish in order to really put the icing on the cake for his title shot. But sometimes these things happen. We get so close, one fight away, and we get knocked down the peg. And this was a race. Blachowicz did a fairly decent job of calling his shot on why he should fight John. I thought he could have been a little bit more aggressive, maybe saying something along the lines of, you step in this cage with me and see what happens when I put my fists on your chin. something that's the UFC can run with the soundbite. He was kind of respectfully asking for the title shot. And I always say, like, not everyone needs to go be a loudmouth. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes you have to give the UFC a little bit so that they can take it and that can help spin and oil the machine for you. Now, once you have those sound bites in place, you can go there and be as polite as you want. I'm not saying you have to be a dick with the sound bites, but give them something that they can use to work with to manufacture and sell a show or a matchup for the casual fans who don't necessarily watch as every single week, like myself and obviously probably some of you out there who listen to the podcast or any of the other stuff. But other than that, man, I thought it was a pretty damn good night of fights. This weekend, we got Paul Felder versus Dan Hooker over in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm not going to be out there for that. Definitely not. I got some rehab I need to attend to. But I might go out to Norfolk, Virginia. I might be in Virginia. February 29th. Title shot between Benavidez and Figueiredo. Yeah, that's how you say it. That's in Norfolk, Virginia. I might go out there for that. Take a little road trip with the Tesla. Me, Shorty, and maybe Andre Berry and his lady, Mai. Next up. Now, one thing I would say on our What's Scrapping in news. So, my thoughts on the open scoring. So, beginning March 1st, KSC, I believe that's the Kansas Boxing Commissioner Adam Robach told ESPN on Monday, after every round, the score of the fight will become public knowledge, told to the fighters, the corners, and the broadcast team and the fans in attendance. Currently, in MMA, the scores are only read at the conclusion of the bout that goes the distance. So I'm super interested to see the real-time scoring on this. We are the only sport that does not do this, as well as boxing, obviously. Even in wrestling, when we score, we know. And that's an individual sport. In judo, we know. In jiu-jitsu, we know. Why not boxing and MMA? Why not? What's the difference? And people are saying, oh, well, people are going to be mental distraught or it's going to change the way people fight. I'm like, if I lose thinking that I was winning those rounds and the judges didn't see it my way, in my head, I'm like, I would have done this differently because I would have then known that. So, in my opinion, I don't see no fucking difference. I would much rather know, and this way I can get after it a little bit more and take my chance. And I think you're going to see a lot more exciting fights and finishes because people are going to get caught trying to even up the score and try to go out on their shield as opposed to icing. Like, when you now know you're losing, it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? What the fuck are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and just take that? You know they're winning. They're trying to take your money. Go get it back. Do something about it. That's how I feel. And that's why I love this concept, and I can't wait to see it in place and see how the fighters react to it. And for me, I'm all for it. If I'm down, if I'm winning, I know I'm up 2 rounds. I know I got to protect the lead. But at the same time, I know this guy is going to be coming hard at me. And I need to make sure I'm on edge, make sure I'm ready, I'm on point, focused, and I'm dialed in. Because one lapse in focus, this guy's not coasting. He's coming out there to take my head off. So I need to be extra cautious when I go out there and extra on point and really try to put them down on their ass whenever I can and just make sure I'm clearly doing enough to ice the last round just in case. Well, there's no just in case anymore because now we will know who's up and who's down. Pacquiao inks with McGregor's management firm. What? What else? So CeWHOdo says he isn't impressed by Sterling, who lost to Moraes, and he's not impressed by Jan, who is coming off a win over legend Uriah Faber. And CeWHOdo says, "Are you kidding me? ? That's the guys you want me to fight? No. I need the name, man. I deserve the name. Plus, I just came out of surgery, man. I blew my damn left shoulder out. I want a tune-up fight. That is Jose Waldo. Actually, they're all tune-up fights to me. I don't even know what to make of this. It's like, so there was some people I was going back and forth with a little bit on Twitter, and I was just like, well, at this point, just keep tweeting because it's just entertaining to me to see that you actually think you know what you're talking about. They're saying that, well, I should bring name value to the table to make CeWHOdo want to fight me. It's not just on him. And they are right and also wrong. the champ, at the end of the day, is supposed to carry that burden because they are the champ. The challengers, once they solidify who they are and they earn their spot in the rankings, any sport where you make the finals, you fight in the finals based on you getting to the finals and earning that spot. So I get what they're saying. Like, yeah, maybe you should bring some name value to the table. Yeah, but I'm not the one saying I want the big money fights. I'm the one that's saying I just want to fight for a world title, because what they don't realize is challengers make a different set payment as opposed to my regular salary right now. Payment from as per my contract is much different than if I challenge for a title. That number doesn't even compare. So for me saying I want to fight for the title is because I want to get paid. CeWHOdo wants to fight the big name because he thinks it's going to sell pay-per-views. That's the difference in the argument. Where I'm like, well, if you keep winning these fights and knocking us off, then guess what? Then you get the big money fight, because not even you get the big money fight, you get people that want to see you do you because you're that dominant, you're that good, and people hate you that much, so they want to see you lose based on his entire shtick. So that's where I think people were getting a little bit of the confusion. It's like, nah, you're missing the point. Like, you should just take the fights that are going to help build your name by you just rattling off wins after another, supposedly. But I do think he's a little bit nervous that we are a tougher fight that won't get him anything. But at the same time, it's like, well, you're taking a tough fight with Jose Aldo just because of the name. There's a good chance you can lose that fight, in my opinion. So I look at it like for what it is. It's like, so you want to take that fight. You think you're going to make a ton of money. But based on what merit? You haven't done anything. You haven't sold any pay-per-views yet. You haven't. You know, he did headline the UFC 238 in Chicago against Marlon. But I'm almost convinced that Marlon was probably the name that people were tuning in to watch. But I could be completely wrong. And I have no idea how to check the numbers on that to see how that did. So I understand he wants the pay-per-view cut because we have that in a contract once you become a champion. But at the same time, it's just, I don't know. It's just, dude, you got to earn it. You think John Jones was just making that top money like right out of the gate? No, he defended the belt. He was already a phenom. People were high on him. And people wanted to see him lose. And people want to see him win. For right now, I'm like, dude, you haven't done enough to the point where people have you in that category yet. But it is what it is. Now let's go to our main scraps for UFC New Zealand. Now I'm gonna run through this quick. I'm not gonna do a ton of backdrop on this because I mean it's just one of those kind of cards. But again, I know I said before you can't sleep on the cards, but in terms of the names, I'm just gonna go with the fight. I'm a big fan anyway, so I'm just gonna go with the fights that I think people want to hear about. So I got my guy, Maki Pitolo. I trained with him down in Hawaii a couple times. He's coming off of a loss last time he fought overseas. He's taking on Takashi Sato. That's on the undercard, prelim, ESPN Plus. The entire card is on ESPN Plus. Next up, we have Kai Kara France taking on Tyson Nam. That should be a fun fight. Also from down there in Hawaii. Second fight in the UFC after losing to Sergio Pettis in his debut. He's fought the who's of the bantamweights in every single organization outside of the UFC. It's nice to see him inside the UFC and to see if he can have some success at the flyweight division going down now, as opposed to when he was at 135 when he knocked out Eduardo Dantes over for that, who was the Bellator champ. And that was over at some shoot box something, and he knocked him out. The whole arena went silent. Like, what the fuck just happened? Who is this guy? Jake Mathews, super nice dude, taking on Emil Weber Meek. That should be a tough fight. See if Jake's move to welterweight. See if that streak will continue to surge. And Colin Potter taking on Sean Kenan. Kenan is the one to keep an eye out for. I think he's a super tough and underrated fighter. Korean dude. that should be a fun fight to watch for sure. I'm definitely high on him. Kind of reminds me of Duho Choi when he first came on the scene, and I do think he can have a lot of success in a fight matchup like this to get some shine, to really build his name value. Before we get to the main card, just want to give a shout out to my guys at HydraCanna, drinkhydracanna.com. Check them out. Get yourself a Funkmaster Chain shirt. It's simple. It's easy. Go to the website, order more than $50 worth of product, and get a free Funkmaster Chain shirt by using my discount code for 20% off, Funkmaster. Swipe up. I said swipe up. This is not an IG story, guys. It's not an IG story. So we have the shooters, and we have the gummy bears. So they have a bunch of different products on there that you guys can check out. Now, it is a natural rehydration drink. It is scientifically proven with 20 milligrams of nano CBD, which is much easier absorbed by the body at a molecular level. Go check those guys out. It is what I like to call the hangover cure. Oh, speaking of hangover, Sunday morning, my head was rocking. I missed my flight. So pissed off about that. My girl was mad at me because New Mexico doesn't have a lot of flights that leave. So I stay there. Instead of getting home at 5:20, I got home at I landed about 10:20 instead. Didn't get home till about 11. She was not happy. Let's just say that she was not happy. All right, the main scraps. The whole point of me bringing that up is I wish I actually bought my HydraCanna. I completely forgot to pack it like a freaking idiot. That would have helped out, helped me survive the night. But it is what it is. Tukhugov. Zabari Tukhugov is taking on Kevin Aguilar. Main event 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Main card. It says it's on the main card. 6 fights on the main card. We'll see how that one goes. I haven't seen him fight in a while. I know he had that one close fight with that guy who's making his debut. Interested to see how Tukhugov does in this outing. See if he can use Kevin Aguilar as a highlight, but Aguilar is fucking tough. Next fight, Brad Riddle versus Magomed Mustafayev. Magomed versus Brad Riddle. That should be a good fight. Brad Riddle, a training partner of Dan Hooker, as well as Israel Adesanya and Kai Kara-France. He won his debut fight, which was a barn burner all the way until the end, especially at the end. I remember that he threw that last punch when both guys were on their knees, and he throws like I think it was a right hand or a right uppercut, which was like something you see out of a movie, which it was pretty cool to see. I thought it was pretty dope. And they got to make sure they put that in the ESPN new video games for the UFC. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jan Zunan. That should be an interesting fight. Ben Sassoli versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Jimmy Crute in the co-main event slot versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Oleksiejczuk is coming off of a loss. I remember him fighting our guy, Gian Vellante. He's coming off of a loss, Von Flue choke to Oven St. Preux. Let's see if he can bounce back. He is a minus 145 favorite over Jimmy Crute, who is a plus 115 underdog. Crute is 10-1 with his first career loss coming to Misha Serkinov via Peruvian necktie in round 1. I would like to say that that Serkinov fight was a little too much too soon. Crute is only 23 years old. He's still a young buck, got a lot of time to develop and grow. So they might have rushed him a little bit too soon, in my personal opinion. But we'll see. Mikhail, I'm just calling Mikhail. He is 24 years old. So 2 young bulls looking to get back into the win column. One of them is going to have to knock the other contender off, or should I say other prospect off the totem pole for the pecking order. Now we have Paul Felder, the main event, plus 125 favorite underdog with a record of 17-4, taking on Dan Hooker, who is a minus 155 favorite with a record of 19-8. Dan Hooker on a 2-fight win streak over Ali Quinta, James Vick, and Edson Barbosa put a halt to his winning streak, who had finished him with the 3rd round to the body. with a body punch. And before that, he beat Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller, Mark Diakiese, and he was at lightweight, killing the scene. And then, no, he was at 45, killing the scene. Then moved up to lightweight. That's what it was. Now, he choked out Mark Diakiese. I know he knocked out Jim Miller with the knee. Gilbert Burns, he finished him with punches. Ran to Barbosa. Barbosa slowed him down and stopped him. And he bounced back with big wins over Vic with a finish and a unanimous decision over our guy, Ally Quinta. Now, Paul Felder's resume: beat Stevie Ray ground and pound round 1, Charles Oliveira ground and pound round 2, lost to Mike Perry in a close split decision, which in the fight I did not know which way he was going to go. Comes back, bounces back, and beats James Vick by decision. James Vick was finished by Dan Hooker, and also beat Barbosa back in a revenge fight via split decision. So, in a fight that a lot of people thought Barbosa won, I personally thought Barbosa won too. But it's one of those fights where everything was so close, and it's like, what do you weigh more? The ground and pound, elbows off the back, or the takedowns and being on top and landing very minute damage and being damaged, but getting the control time? So it really varies. So it depends on what you're looking for as a fight fan or a coach. For me, I'm always going to go with the damage. I felt like Barbosa did more damage. But then Felder also had that close armbar attack off of his back, as well as the elbow that cut Barbosa open. And those are significant damaging strikes. So I don't know. I felt like that fight could have been as good as a draw. There was no clear-cut winner. And just because you're on the top position doesn't necessarily mean you're winning the fight, especially when the striking on the feet was close, and then you take the guy down and you get sliced up and you get the damage done to you from someone's guard. So I think there's something to be said about that. And I know Felder was advancing the majority of the time and trying to really put the pressure on Barbosa as well. So I don't know. So that's fight. It just depends on what you score more and what what favors more in your mind, what weighs heavily. But I'm looking forward to this one. I can't really call it. Dan Hooker's got the range. I will say, Al said he wasn't going to brawl with Dan Hooker. He didn't. He said he was more of an intelligent fighter, and I agree with him. I think that really set a fire under Dan Hooker, because Dan Hooker and Al were looked at as the matchup of who's going to be the tougher man, because everyone thought they were going to stand there and just see who's the toughest fuck out of both of them. And, Hooker said, at least in his interviews, he was saying that he took that as disrespect and he was going to show that he can strategically fight, and he did so. I will admit, he came out, chopped down Al's legs early with those calf kicks. I think he landed like 8 in the first round, and 8 low leg calf kicks. They do significant amount of damage. Do that to anybody, and that fight is a different fight. And there goes your game plan when you don't have your mobility. Hooker showed some impressive grappling defense against Al as well. Against Vic, who's a taller opponent, he was able to shine in that as well. And he showed some diversity. He showed he's tough, and when the tough gets going, he can take it just as well as he can dish it in terms of the Barbosa fight. So Hooker knocks out Vic. Hooker loses to Barbosa. Felder beats Barbosa and gets his decision over Vic. Styles make fights. I can't see Felder being caught by submission, because if Charles Oliveira couldn't submit him, I'm not seeing how Dana Hooker is going to go out there and do that. In terms of point fighting, I can see Hooker trying to implement the same game plan, staying on the outside, trying to chop down the legs of Felder. But Felder will check those motherfuckers, and he's willing to inflict that pain upon himself. And I think that could be a game changer if he can check 1 or 2 kicks in a proper way, that it can deter Hooker from throwing kicks. And then from there, we're going to have to see how good of a boxer Dan Hooker is in the pocket with Paul Felder. I do think the odds maker might have this one wrong, but the odds are not that crazy where it's like too far-fetched. Obviously, it's a fist fight. Both are super high-level guys. But I'm going to say the boxing capability should go favor, like, the boxing category should go to Paul Felder in terms of how he slips and rips, and he puts a lot of bad intentions on his strikes, especially the elbows when he gets in close. Al was able to clip Hooker a couple good times, and that's being immobilized with the movement from the calf kicks. So it's a very interesting fight. I don't know. I think Felder is pretty crafty off of his back, as we've seen when Barbosa took him down. So he's not going to just be staying there. He's going to be throwing tomahawk elbows off of his back. I can't really see Dan Hooker looking for takedowns, but I can see him looking for those front kicks and those step-in knees if Felder gets a little too over-aggressive, which is what Al was. One of the things that we broke down was like the guys who got over-aggressive, that's when Felder... that's when Dan Hooker would step in and catch guys with those knees the same way he did Jim Miller. And there was another guy he clipped like that and dropped him. So this is a very interesting fight. It really depends on who's going to have the proper game plan. Obviously, at this high level, everything makes those little differences. I think Hooker has a phenomenal jab. I can see him trying to keep the fight at the end range. But I think Felder being the heavy hitter, if he can coerce Dan Hooker to sit in the pocket, I think he can catch him coming in with the spinning kicks or the elbows or the knees in the clinch. But Dan Hooker is also dangerous in the clinch with his knees. So it's like, damn, these guys are almost, I don't want to say mirror images of each other, but Paul Felder is 35. Dan Hooker is 30. Felder is 5'11", and Hooker is 6 feet tall, so relatively close in height. 75.5-inch reach for Hooker and 70.5-inch reach for Felder. So Felder's got this much shorter reach. I think Hooker's really going to try to utilize that range with the jab like he was trying to do with Al. And, if he fights like that, fighting smart and not getting into a barn burn of a fight, I can see Hooker pulling away with this one. But I feel Felder's tenaciousness should also play a factor into this as well. Now, it's hard to say because I don't know how much Hooker has grown since that Barbosa fight in terms of not sitting in there and just looking to trade. So we saw nice footwork and ring generalship from Felder cutting off the cage against Barbosa and trying to corner him, but Barbosa was on his bike the entire time where Felder was trying to slow him down, get him tired from circling the entire fight. So I don't know. It's really I can't call this one. I really can't call this one. We know Hooker's a finisher. He goes for it. We know Felder does the spinning shit. He goes for it. I just like this fucking matchup. I don't like picking fight winners anyway, so I'm not gonna. But either way, we're gonna wrap this up. I gotta get ready for practice. I'm gonna try to get this up for you guys right now. I hope you guys tune into my segment on the Hawani show, previously dubbed as the MMA Hour. Now they changed it up a bit, but fun stuff. I dropped some pretty good sound bites in there, and hopefully people got my point. Sometimes people listen to the wrong things and they focus on the wrong things instead of the message that you're actually trying to get across. It's really fucking weird. People can be really, really weird. But other than that, let me know who you guys got in the main event and the co-main event for this event. Let me know who you guys got winning in the main event for the co-main event and the main event of this event. Yeah, what the fuck? Drop a comment. And remember, if you like my shit, subscribe to my shit. Or spinning back fist, baby. Bow, 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 bow. Oh, yeah, my man. Shout out to Jimmy Rivera. Not the one that I fought. This guy comes to all the fights. He is a true MMA hardcore fan. I love it. And I saw him in person, and we were talking about the podcast, and he goes, and if you don't like my shit, he said spinning back fist. I thought that was pretty dope. So thank you for listening, always tuning in, always dropping a comment. And I'll getting back to the comments with the other guys right now. So hopefully we can get our fight booked soon, May or June. Thank you guys for always tuning in and sharing the love. And I'll see you guys next time. Time to get my work in. The team is hyped. The boys are hyped. Let's fucking go. Peace.